I've got a good handful of people that will help give feedback on guests that I have coming up. And I said, hey, we have a communication expert coming on the show. Give me your scenarios. Let me know what you're struggling with. And I had a few people give some good questions of things that they're going through. So if you're willing, I'd love to ask you these questions and see if you've got any 2 cents on how to help these people.
Awesome.
So Sarah, asked, within my sales team, I feel like I'm pulling more weight than everyone else combined in turn, which helps the entire team. Everyone gets paid more due to her efforts, and she struggles with knowing how to communicate that to her boss to either A, get more money, right? More compensation because she feels like she's doing more work, or B, try to get everyone else to pull their own weight. It's an interesting dynamic. And in the sales organization, I've been in, similar situations myself. How do you kind of break through that cycle, or how do you approach your boss about that?
Yeah, in this case, this is a great question. I think a lot of people face this. It's like more responsibility. One thing that she should know is that you get more responsibility when you're good. That means you're really good. And when you know you're really good, then you can leverage that in a conversation with your boss. And you can say, you can approach your boss. I love priming, right? Priming is so important when you're going to have a difficult conversation and you know that there's going to be, you're going to get to the edge of someone's awareness. Priming is a good way to start. Like, hey, I really want to talk about growth opportunities that are available to me in this position. Do you have some time today or on this day to have a conversation about that? And then in that conversation, you can say something like, well, I noticed that these are my responsibilities and I really love what I do. And at some points in time, I'm feeling a little burnt out because I feel like the weight isn't distributed carefully amongst all of us. And while I love contributing to the team, I want to make sure that I can be at my best. And in order for me to be at my best, I don't want to feel burnt out. How do you see us working through this challenge so that we can support each other in growing so that we all get compensated well?
That's great. That is worth paying for. Right there. If I knew someone like you existed during my career, yeah, we would have been talking, because that's I couldn't imagine. I couldn't bring that up or calculate that out with years of thinking about it. That was awesome. So, all right, Esther here, she's the team lead, and she struggles to strike the balance between maintaining professionalism and being approachable to her team. I'm a friendly person by nature, and I want everyone to like me, but that often doesn't work in my favor.
Right. So here I would say that there's a desire to get significance and validation from our employees, and we don't want to do that with our employees. We want to be the validator and the creator of significance in our employees, and when we do that, then they like us. So when we can validate them and say, hey, you're doing a really good job. Hey, I noticed that this new thing that we talked about, you implemented it right away. And I'm really seeing the benefit of that. I really see the results from that. And I just really thank you for really go getting it. Things like that are a more efficient way to create likable relationships in work environments. We don't want to get any kind of our validation or feelings of self-worth from our relationships from our employees. One great factor is when our employees achieve goals, we know that we're doing the right thing, right? And
Mm.
that in itself creates that self-validation. And in that validation, we're no longer looking for our employees to like us. We're looking for employees to be a part of the team. And sometimes we're going to say things that are not liked. We're going to say things that are not exciting. However, because we have created such an environment and an ambiance of building each other up no matter how hard it gets, then you can get to that place of, okay, obviously I'm respected, obviously I'm liked, I'm retaining my employees, productivity and efficiency is through the roof. We're kind of rolling like a well-oiled machine. And that's how you know you're well liked. Does that answer your question?
A
I hope that.
100%. It answers it for me at least. Hopefully
Yeah.
it answers it for her. Yeah, that's again, amazing. Like you've done this before. Okay, Troy, his company has moved more remotely, like a lot of companies have in the last few years. I'm finding it challenging to maintain consistent and effective communication via Zoom, email, or text. What can I do to help get that team feeling back?
This is hard because proximity is important. And so, my question would be is are there any opportunities for people to connect outside of just that Zoom? Like is
Hmm.
there any opportunity to have interactions with each other that are not really work oriented? So maybe one of the Zooms is like you're kind of just messing around, like, you know, asking questions with each other and really learning about who each other are, instead of always just being work oriented. And I think that might offer some kind of openness in that team orientation being so far apart. I think validation again is another great one. So it's like you notice someone doing something really good, you validate that. You notice your boss doing something really good, you validate that. Your boss noticed something in someone else, they validate that. So just a session where you would validate each other or just notice goodness in each other, or ask, you know, three, what is it, three truths and a lie, or two truths and a lie, like those kinds of interactions with each other, even though they're kind of lame at times, you know, the icebreakers, they really do break the ice, you know, they
Yeah.
really do help us get to laughing and connecting. And I think once you can break the ice with laughter, you really can improve any team dynamic, no matter how far in distance anybody is.
100%. Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm thinking we have a weekly team meeting, and I am not the boss of my brokerage firm. And yeah, he's on time generally, and the rest of us are 5 to 10 minutes earlier. But you're right. Before he gets on, we're just talking, shooting the shit. And a couple of these guys I've never actually met in person before, because we're all just individual agents. But yeah, that talking, just shooting the shit between each other is gold. And then when he gets on, now we're all on the same page, and now the dynamics shift a little bit. But yeah, I'm sure that is more growth, has more growth out of it than the actual weekly meetings do. Huh. All right, now the last one, more relationship focused and probably more important than anything else, from Mike. And I know as a male, I can understand this. I don't know how to tell my wife I just don't have much to say. She gets mad at me for not having responses to everything she's talking about, and much of it just seems like thoughts that she's having. I'm just letting her vent, but most of the time, I don't really have an opinion one way or another about what she's saying. How can I try to get on the same page with her without hurting her feelings?
So this is you can probably empathize with this. I can empathize with this too, right?
Yeah.
So, um, you know, the question really boils down to, do you really care about connecting? Do you really care about that conversation? Do you really care? That's a question to really dig deep about, to think about this desire for listening, right? So we kind of put that process of active listening in place, which is like the first step of that process is, do I have the bandwidth to listen, and am I willing to listen? Am I willing to be present with this conversation? So I would say, if there's no bandwidth and you don't really care about what she's saying, but you want to give her that moment to vent, then say that. Say,
Hmm.
Mama, I love you so much, and I want you to feel like you are heard, and I want you to be able to feel like you can tell me anything. But in my mind, I'm in a place where I want to fix things and I want to solve problems, because that's what men do. Men's minds are always solving problems. That's just what they do. And
Yeah.
women have this innate ability to talk about anything whenever they want for like 7 hours at a time. So it's like, it's just like, so really he's looking, what I hear him say is, how do I create a boundary that allows her to feel heard and me also feel like I'm not being a douchebag and like
Yeah.
not listening to her, right? So you got to create a boundary and say, okay, love, I need a primer. Before you go on in a story, I need you to make sure that I'm really present so I can fully hear you. And if I'm not present and I can't hear you, I'm not going to be a good listener. So can you do that for me and really give me that primer and say, hey, babe, I really need to say something to you and I really want to share something with you. Is this a good time to share it with you? And babe, if you want to go into a vent and you just want to share a story about something, I definitely want to listen, but tell me what you want from me when I'm listening. Do you want me to just say aha? Do you want me to offer an opinion? Do you want me to offer a solution? And if it's none of those, then it might be better to talk to your girlfriends or your mom or someone else that is willing to be in that space with you where you can just feel heard in that way. Because in my mind, I'm going to go to a place of solving the problem. And if I can't solve a problem, I'm probably going to check out. And that's just the reality of the situation.